Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kate, and in this video I'm going to be doing a 3D flower. Now sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to learn how to do 3D flowers, but if you're using the right products it is super easy. Let's jump into it. So here's the nail we're going to be working on, and I did already apply a gel color as well as the non-wipe top coat. I definitely think that you guys should be doing this over top of a cured gel top coat just because it's a little bit easier. You don't have to go around the flowers with the top coat after you've cured it. So we're going to be working on this. Here is the flower design we're going to be doing in this video. This is one of the most common flower designs there is for nails. And as you can see, we do have rhinestone clusters in the center, some little pearl beads, and the petals. So typically you want to start with the rhinestones first. I know in some of my previous videos I started with the flower petals first, but especially if you're just learning how to do 3D flowers, it's best to do the rhinestones first, just to make sure you have enough room. So I'm first going to start with the McCart rhinestone gel, and this stuff is really good. It holds your rhinestones on like super good. So if you have any issues of your rhinestones popping off, definitely try this one. So like I said, we are doing this over top of a top coat already, and I'm just going to put like a decent glob of this on the side. Something like this, try not to put too much because then you're going to have overflow of gel, which doesn't really look that great. Or you're either gonna have to try and wipe it off somehow, which is super annoying. So just try to put like a decent amount that's gonna be holding your rhinestones in place without being too much. So here are the rhinestones that I'm gonna be using. These are from an emerald pack on Amazon. I'll have it linked down below. I will be honest, something that I really hate about these Amazon ones is the bigger shaped rhinestones are actually emerald and the smaller circular ones are green. I really don't like that, but this is what I have. I am just going to be using the little wax pencil or white pencil thing that comes inside of the rhinestone thing from Amazon. This just helps you pick up the rhinestones. I'm going to start with the size 1 or the biggest size rhinestone that is in this little container. And just make sure that you push it down very well so that the gel fully encapsulates that rhinestone. After that, I think I used number 4 to surround the bigger one. Do keep in mind that since this is gel, you don't have to have a perfect placement as soon as you place it down like a normal glue, because you do have to put it under the light for this gel to harden. So as for the placement, I do like these smaller rhinestones to be touching or up against the bigger rhinestone. And I do like to leave like a small little gap on the side between the rhinestones and the edge, just because I don't want these rhinestones to be on the edge, because that can be quite irritating against the skin. And if they're hanging off, they will pop off very quickly. So I like to leave like just a little bit of a gap. So I did put a little bit of rhinestone gel on the rhinestone, and I want to take that off, so I'm going to be using the Vita Bella Oopsie brush. Mine is very dirty, please ignore it. And a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I'm just going to dab this around the rhinestone just to try to get that gel off. So once I'm happy with the rhinestone placement, we're going to be adding the caviar beads. So I have this little container of like multicolored ones. I'm not sure where I got this, but I'll try to link one down below in the description. I'm going to be using these silver ones. So I like to use caviar beads sometimes because they do fill in those very small gaps, and it just puts together the entire design. I really like it, but you can skip this if you don't want them. I'm just going to be placing them in between these smaller rhinestones around the edge. Something that I've noticed with these smaller caviar beads is you really have to make sure they're up against something like a bigger rhinestone or another charm, just because they do pop off kind of easy. So having them up against other things definitely keeps them from coming off. Once your rhinestones are in the perfect position, you want to go ahead and cure under an LED lamp for 60 seconds. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side on the bottom. I did place a little bit too much gel at the bottom, so I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe that off. Just like that. And of course, we cannot forget those little caviar beads. So just like the other one, I'm gonna quickly check, and as you can see, it's a little bit more down the nail than the first one, so I wanna go ahead and like kind of scoot that up a little bit. So I moved that down a little bit, so I'm gonna check again, and that's a lot more even. So I'm gonna go ahead and cure this for 60 seconds. So now that the rhinestones are cured in the perfect position, we're gonna go ahead and start sculpting the flower petals. I like to use Nails by Dev's white trippy gel. This is a little bit different of a consistency than other sculpting gels, but it really holds its shape and it's pretty easy for beginners to learn how to do flowers. So basically, if you've never seen or heard of this product, it's kind of like a Play-Doh for nail techs. In this little container here, I do have some rubbing alcohol, and this just prevents the trippy gel from sticking to the tool that you're using to sculpt with. Speaking of tools, I'm going to be using this silicone sculpting tool. I got this from like Shein, I think, but you can get these basically anywhere, and you can use other things if you don't like these silicone ones. I'm just going to be using a metal cuticle pusher, this little pointy end, to scoop up the trippy gel. Honestly, this is the hardest part about doing 3D flowers, is getting the same amount for all of the petals. Guys, this is going to sound so ghetto, but I ran out of gloves, and you do not want to be touching uncured gels with your bare skin because that can cause allergies with that product. So I found some tape, and I just taped it around my fingers, and that's what I'm going to be doing to prevent the gel from touching my skin. Judge me if you want. So with my taped fingers, I'm just going to scoop up. I don't know if this is going to work. It stopped sticking. Hold on. I need another piece. Okay, maybe that's good. They also started doing some work outside my window, so if you guys can hear anything, I apologize. So using my taped fingers, you just want to roll that trippy gel into a little ball, and this is going to be the size of your flower petal, and you want to try to get all of your trippy gel balls to be this exact size. You can make the top and bottom petals a little bit bigger just to make sure that you're able to spread it out to make it pointy. I like to place my little rolled up trippy gel balls in the lid, but you can place these on anything that is clean. I'm going to go ahead and do 5 more of these. I've finished rolling up my trippy gel, so I'm going to take the tape off because this is super annoying. As you can see, there are 2 that are slightly bigger than the other 3, and these bigger ones are going to be the top and bottom flower petals, since those need to be a little bit bigger to stretch out. So using the silicone tool, I'm just going to pick up those beads of gel and go ahead and place them down where I want my flower petals. Now keep in mind, you do want to leave a little bit of a space between the gel and the rhinestone clusters so you're able to spread it out and not get the product all over your rhinestones. Again, those bigger beads of gel are going to go on the top and the bottom, and all of these smaller ones are going to go on the side. Do make sure to space these out very evenly and make sure there's a decent space between them so you're able to sculpt out each petal. So now that we have the gel down, I'm going to take the silicone tool and dip it in the rubbing alcohol. I like to dab off the excess just because you don't need too much alcohol. This is only a little bit so the product doesn't stick to your tool. So let's get shaping. I'm just going to go ahead and use kind of like the side of the silicone tool and just start smashing down that little bead at the top. And I'm going to drag it out just slightly upwards. Then we're going to start smushing in the top. You want to make a little bit of a point. Drag and smush. You can also flip and start dragging it downwards towards your rhinestone cluster. I also don't really like when 3D flower petals are like super 3D and they stick off the nail very badly. So I am making sure to push down the sides just a little bit. You want to do this with a very light hand so that you don't smush down the petal too much. Also, the area where the flower petal touches the rhinestones or almost touches them, you want to make that area like super thin. Like you kind of want to see the color that you put underneath the flower petal through that area, just to make it like not too thick, because for flower petals to look good on nails, you kind of need to like blend that area a little bit. Not blend, but like, you guys get it. Like, you don't want that area to be thick. So that is the first flower petal. I'm gonna go ahead and move down to the bottom. Again, we're just doing the same thing. So you wanna smash a line down the center. Then you wanna start dragging that product down to make the point and smush in the sides. Drag and smush. Again, you wanna do it the other way as well. Push down the sides a little bit. Something that might also help is flipping the nail upside down, because if you did one flower petal but you feel like you can't really match it, flipping it might help you just a little bit. So something else, and this is just kind of like based on the style of flower that you like and the flower that you like to do, you may want to push in the bottom after you kind of like made that area very thin. It kind of gives more of a look like the flower petal is coming from like a downward area, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, again, people do their flowers differently. You don't have to follow this exactly. So I'm gonna go ahead and compare this to the first one I did, and they're much bigger. So I think I'm gonna have to cut some of the flower petal off and reshape it to be a little bit smaller. That is one thing I really love about doing 3D flower petals with gel rather than trying to do them with acrylic, is you don't have to worry about the product drying. You have as long as you need to make it exactly how you want. Do keep in mind though, the more that you work with this product, especially if you're using too much rubbing alcohol, it's gonna get more and more difficult to shape it as you go. So try to get it done as quickly and as few dips of alcohol as possible. So that is a lot better than the big flower petals. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing for the bottom one. I'll be honest, that does happen sometimes, especially if you're trying to do multiple nails with the exact same type of flower. It can be a little difficult just to make sure that those flower petals match. Again, they don't have to be perfect. Like, flowers are flowers and every single one is a little bit different, but trying to get them even remotely close sometimes can be a little bit hard. So I played around with that a little bit more off camera and I got it how I want. So we're going to be moving on to the smaller ones. Also, keep in mind, do not cure before you finish all of the petals that are on the nail. You can do these one at a time, but personally, I just like to do them all at once to make sure that everything fits. So we are going to be turning the nail this way because it's a lot easier to smash these petals into shape like this rather than like this. So do make sure to kind of angle your silicone tool or whatever you're using a little bit inwards towards the rhinestones at an angle, and this will give it more depth and make it look a little bit better when it comes to the 3D aspect. The first thing you want to do is kind of make sure that these are very rounded out, just because you don't really have to shape these quite as much. It's very easy to do these flower petals when the ball of Trendy gel or whatever product you're using is very rounded. Okay, so for this one, I kind of have a little bit of a technique. You want to place your silicone tool down on the bead and kind of push in and down. Now doing this gives you a lot better shape, and it's a lot easier to kind of control how the flower petal looks. That's just a little tip that I found. Again, once you get too close to the rhinestones, you want to start pulling that away. I am just smoothing out the edges of the flower petal as well. I want to make sure that it's very rounded. Again, just smush down the middle. Something like that. I'm going to go ahead and do the other ones. Okay, so now that I have this looking how I want, I'm going to go ahead and compare it again to my original just to see how close it looks. So I think I'm doing things a bit on the bigger side today, but I kind of like it anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and cure this for 60 seconds. So So while that's curing, I do want to mention that I'm going to do the other flower petal on camera, but I'm not going to be showing my face or talking, and I'm going to do a different angle so hopefully you guys can see the process a little bit better. Once I have the flower petals looking exactly how I want, I did go ahead and cure that as well for a full 60 seconds under my LED nail lamp. And that is the finished flower. So then using a paper towel and rubbing alcohol, I'm going to clean this nail very well just to make sure there's no tackiness anywhere. Keep in mind that the McCart rhinestone glue does have a tacky layer, so you're going to have to remove that at least if you don't do anything else after curing the petals. So here is the finished flower nail with its little sister, and I did a few other flowers for this set as well. Let me know what you guys want to see next down below in the comments. Give this video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!